All right, so the forest didn't talk to me in the sense of verbal communication. So that's something I always have to get out of the way because I guess the way I think. So I would think it's just an easier way to say the same thing that I'll say now, which is the experience that I had yesterday as I record this video was a sort of communication that I had never paid attention to in the experience of exploring the forest. And that information, I'll explain it better so it makes sense, at least from my square point of view, that I like to have things as much explored as possible in terms of the experience. So just a little backstory. I grew up in the city, and then I moved to an island where there was a lot of nature, and I had a lot of experiences there, but I always had this sort of fear with my bare feet that if I touched the grass or something, I don't know, it was like a weird sensation in my body that I didn't want to. I would always wear, some sort of footwear, and I deprived myself from feeling the earth. And it wasn't until I actually got into Pennsylvania, where I live now, that I said I want to start exploring more, the feeling of the earth in my feet. And I've done it several times. I've moved around the front yard and so on, and walked to the lake. But only until recent I started feeling more the earth with my feet. And yesterday I had a tremendous experience because for the first time I didn't go with shoes to the deep forest, and I decided to go just with my bare foot and walked around. There was always this fear that I was going to cut myself with a rock or stab my toes or my feet in general with something that was dangerous. And I said, well, whatever happens, what's going to happen. So I went into this gorgeous river. It was like a waterfall, and I started feeling the earth underneath my feet, and I started just moving around and walking and got into the river myself, just walking around there, the stones, the little rocks, and then I walked through the mud. I found the most beautiful species of mushrooms that I have seen in an exploration like this all together. And that's the beautiful thing. Like, I've never seen so many mushrooms together, different mushrooms. They were different colors, white, brown, some light brown that almost like shine, some with spikes, and I just felt like I was in Wonderland, literally. One of the mushrooms that actually had the caterpillar, or close to a caterpillar, just like Alice in Wonderland. But it was just a beautiful experience in general. And when we went to another part of the forest where there was a lot of this straw, or I may be butchering the term, but it's something that falls from the pines, and it created this soft sort of carpet that once you laid on it and you walked on it, it just felt the most comfortable thing I ever felt. And somehow it felt like home. So while all of this sounds like I was tripping, because I was tripping on the gorgeous nature that I was exploring. No mushrooms, no. I wasn't tripping on mushrooms, even though I was tripping on the side of mushrooms because they were so beautiful. But I was just in a natural tripping state of, I guess, my state of consciousness, which is involved into this whole scenery and my sensations with it. Again, I felt the earth, and that was a beautiful experience in and of itself. However, the information that came through, I was able to process it a day later, today, when I settled down. And I'll give you a little example of how, because you have felt this way. So you feel familiar with the feeling. If you have been to the beach before, and I mean a beach with waves, even though, a beach without waves also works, because you are getting into an experience of nature that is random and that you're feeling with your body somehow. And for those who have been into, I assume most of you have been to the beach with waves and so on, but I know some people haven't gotten into beaches because they have been living in different places, secluded from the coast. But in any case, that feeling that you get from the waves and the tides and the constant moving, when you go home after all this day, you kind of feel like you're bringing the beach with you, like you're bringing that constant motion of the waters. And it could be anything. I'm just using the beach as an example, but it could be any experience. And that motion and it's just a sensation that goes through you. You bring it home and somehow you're reliving it, even though obviously you're in bed or you're just, especially when you're falling asleep is when you feel it the most. When you're relaxing is when your body seems to process those movements, the experience itself, the sensations, the constant jerking and moving and all that stuff, right? And you know what I'm talking about now. Now, something very similar happened to me when I woke up this morning and I felt that my feet were sort of vibrating. And to make sense of it and not just say vibrations in the general term, I felt like the texture, so many different textures that I felt under my feet, the mud, the little branches or wood that was on the floor where I stepped on, the moss, the water, the stones, the straw, anything that I stepped on. I even stepped on some mushrooms too, which I felt kind of bad after I saw them laying there. But I felt so many things under my feet, and these were all like sort of acupuncture to my feet that created this multiplicity of sensations in my feet. And that's what I felt this time. I felt like I was still in the forest, just like the example I used on the beach. Like you feel that you're still, rocking on the beach, but you're not on the beach. You're home, you're probably relaxing or sleeping or falling asleep. And in the same way, I felt like I was still walking in the forest. Like my feet were still vibrating to this infinite tunes of little things that were under my feet. And I just felt amazing. I felt like the forest was talking to me. And this is how, it's the best way I can describe it. And it more than talking now that I have time to explain what I mean, it's more like the information that I brought from the forest with my feet and all these vibrations, all this information was talking to me or giving me information, just seeping, these messages into my mind. And I'm still processing it, but I just needed to share this because if anything, the one message that I keep getting in my head is just how we are disconnected from our own nature, how we're disconnected from, and speaking from anecdote, from me, how deprived we are from feeling the grass, the spider that is actually walking towards me right now. There are so many things that are in nature that we don't explore anymore and we don't feel. And again, it's one thing is intellectual exploring, knowing these things, and the other one is practical exploring, the true feeling of experiencing anything in nature. And you just feel more in tune with nature because nature is playing music and we're not listening to it. So the more we are involved in nature, wherever we are, whether it's, it'd be just like me trying my feet on the earth or just listening to the birds singing. I mean, I don't want to give a specific message to anybody, but just my message. So it could be if anything, of some sort of inspiration for people to explore nature in general, and just explore that nature is you, and you're almost like dusting off some mechanisms in your mind that are there, that your attunement to nature is there, but we just are a little bit more distracted than usual with our synthetic environments and our electronics and so on. And it just seems like it's a very, very helpful thing. You know, I am a little familiar with, you know, the research that has been performed on people walking barefoot on the grass, on nature, and all this kind of stuff. And of course, you know, there's always the general information about go into nature and explore it and all this stuff, but it's something quite different to experiencing and come back and feel, just be in tune with what you feel at the moment. Just like I said, the best example is the beach, because everybody has gone to the beach, hopefully, and you know, felt this rocking motion for hours maybe, and then you go home and you bring that with you. And that is, to me, listening to the music of nature wherever you are, just getting in tune with that. So that's all I wanted to share. I hope you get some time in nature, because it's a really therapeutic effect, and it's also something that may bring a message to you. You may decode it in a different way. I feel like I'm literally feeling the mushrooms. I was fascinated with the mushrooms, as you can see. And these mushrooms, I just feel like they were under the earth as the mycelium that they truly are, and they're fruiting up, and they were talking to me just by looking at them. I play with so many of them just to feel their texture with my fingers, and it was just amazing. So again, this is a very hippie way of saying, you know, get in tune with nature, go out, feel a little bit, you know, your body in nature, and maybe with some animals too, you know, and insects and so on. So it's up to you and your fears. I have my own fears. So again, that's all I wanted to share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.